Hello again, everybody. Along with Joe Simpson, Skip Carey, welcoming you to another day of Atlanta Braves baseball. From Veterans Stadium, final game of the series. Braves have won 2 of the first 3. A lot of changes since we talked on TBS last, Joe.
Yeah, and some excitement in the clubhouse. Everybody fired up last night about the return of Terry Pendleton. He got a base hit last night in his first game back in a Braves uniform. And then today marks the rise of Andrew Jones to the big leagues. He started in A-ball this year. He gets a start in right field this afternoon. And a sidelight to that, the fact that Chipper played right field last night. He's at shortstop today. I talked to Chipper before the ballgame. He said anything's better than last night. He said I was bored to death in right field. Back to his old stomping grounds at shortstop.
Lately, Bill Zach of the Morris News Service put it best. The Braves have had less hits lately than the BJs. Hope to turn that around today. Back with the starting lineups. Play-by-play story right after this.
Braves, and this is a revamped lineup. In fact, a late addition to this lineup. We'll tell you about that as we go along. Marquise Grissom will lead it off. He's hitting 19 straight. Then Andrew Jones makes his big league debut in right field. Chipper Jones at shortstop batting third. Fred McGriff, the cleanup hitter, followed by Ryan Klesko and Terry Pendleton at third base. Eddie Perez was a late addition to the lineup. Javi has been scratched with a bruise on his chest from a foul ball. Mark Lemke at second base bats eighth, and Terrell Wade, the pitcher, bats ninth. For the Phillies, they'll try to get away with a split of this 4-game series with this defensive alignment. Pete Incaviglia gets a start in left field tonight, or this afternoon. Ricky Otero in center. Manny Martinez in right field. On the infield, third to first, Scott Rowland, Kevin Stocker, Mickey Morandini, and Todd Zeal. Benito Santiago, who's been a Braves killer all season long, will be behind the plate. And Curt Schilling on the mound will make his 18th start of the year. He's 29 years old, 6'4", 225, makes his home in the Philadelphia area now. And he has been a very tough pitcher of late. He has rebounded from the disabled list to pitch his best baseball in the last 2 or 3 years. He's coming off a great start against Pittsburgh August 5th, where he went the distance and fired a 4-hit shutout at Pirates, walked 2, and struck out 10. And as you can see, 3 of his 6 starts since the All-Star break have been complete games, and he has that 1 shutout I just mentioned. Lifetime, he's 3-5 against the Braves, but no luck here in this ballpark. On record of 0-4 at the Vet. Umpires for today's game, Tom Hallion will be behind the dish calling balls and strikes. Jerry Crawford at first base. Paul Nauert is at second, and Wally Bell moves down to third. The Braves enter play, still 7 games up on the Montreal Expos, and it seems, Skip, that every day the Braves win, the Expos win. Every day the Braves lose, the Expos lose, and that's a tough way for Montreal to try to make up any ground.
I think both teams are 7-3 in their last 10 games, which is just fine with Atlanta. Well, we get ready to go. Marquise Grissom will lead it off. Before he does, on behalf of all of us at Turner Broadcasting and with the Atlanta Braves, our sympathies to the family and friends of ESPN announcer Tom Meese, who died so tragically yesterday, and all his colleagues at ESPN. I never had the privilege of meeting him, but from reading their quotes, he must have been a heck of a guy, and we feel badly for all of you.
Absolutely.
Grissom at 304 with a 19-game hitting streak. Doesn't get it 0-1. This Schilling can bring it up there. 82 degrees at game time, but it's much hotter than that on the turf. There's a drive deep left field. That ball's got a chance. It's going to be off the wall. Incaviglia plays it nicely. Close play at second, except the throw's offline, and Grissom is in there. Now he's hit in 20 straight. Pretty good start for Atlanta, and Andrew Jones is about to make his major league debut. Incaviglia played that ball as well as he could.
When you've got a pretty good hitting streak working of this magnitude, you get to hit your first at bat. Boy, does that take the pressure off, and he almost hit it out of the ballpark. And here's the kid we've heard so much about all year long, Andrew Jones.
339 overall in the minor leagues this year. He's a guy that speaks 4 languages. Took a shot at right field, as he should, and fouled it away 0-1.
Combined totals of 339 average, 34 homers, 92 RBIs, and 30 total stolen bases.
Total package is what that indicates. Chased a bad ball there. It's 0-2.
He's got his work cut out for him today. Curt Schilling, a tough pitcher, throws hard, has a good slider. So he'll get an indoctrination against a tough pitcher.
Like most young hitters, he does strike out a good bit. including this one, and he chased 2 bad balls. He's out on 3 straight. 1 down.
Schilling just kept taking him a little bit farther away from the plate, and when he got behind in the count, got him to chase a bad one.
So A. Jones is out, and C. Jones stands in. Chipper 7 of 11 in the series. He's driven in a couple of runs. Now has 91 on the year. Grissom edges away at second. Let out lined into right center, and the Braves lead. 92nd RBI of the year for C. Jones. It is 1-0 Atlanta.
And he's got a 10-game hitting streak and just keeps rolling right along. Got an off-speed pitch, a curveball that stayed up, kept his hands back long enough to get it over Morandini's head.
Fred McGriff, the batter, having an awful series. 1 out of 12. Back down to 288, but with 23 homers, 84 RBIs. Ryan Plesko moves on deck, although in the Philadelphia lineups today is called Ryan Plesk. 1 ball, no strikes. Fouled back.
Good swing by Fred at that pitch.
A ball and a strike.
He's a guy that's worn out the Phillies. We're talking about Santiago and his luck against the Braves. Fred has done more than his share of damage against Philadelphia, but last night an 0 for 4.
Their outfield play is really deep. Manny Martinez, the right fielder we noticed last night, is out of sight. And I mean against everybody. He's McGriff, you can understand.
Right. But he's only a couple of strides from the warning track. That's as deep as anybody in the league.
Pop into short left center. Otero, glasses gleaming, calls for it. 2 down. Here's Ryan. Plesko 0 for 8 in the series. He's 0 for 8 against Schilling in his career. Braves home tomorrow night. John Smoltz goes for number 20. Your first look at Andrew Jones in person, and we can welcome back Terry Pendleton at the ballpark tomorrow night. We'll have it for you at 7:35. Upstairs, check it straight to Plesko. Tom Hellion, one of the I'll let you know when I'm good and ready school of umpires.
But a good ball and strike umpire.
0-2 right through there. Another fastball, same spot.
Everything works off of Schilling's fastball. It's certainly good enough to pitch inside and throw it by hitters, and uses his breaking ball. He made a bad pitch to Chipper Jones, but his slider, I think, a better pitch than his curveball.
Strike 3 called. 3 pitches in the same spot. Plesko never pulled the trigger. 2 strikeouts for Schilling. Braves get a run on 2 hits and lead 1. Bottom of the first, 1-0 Atlanta.
Lead by the Braves. Otero, Morandini, and Rowland. The first 3. Scott Rowland moving quickly up through the order. Todd Zeile, the cleanup hitter, followed by Santiago and Incavilla. Bottom third of the order, Manny Martinez, Kevin Stocker, and Curt Schilling. The Braves defensively, and we may see a lot of this lineup in the coming days with Plesko, Grissom, and Andrew Jones in the outfield. Pendleton, Chipper Jones, Lemke, and McGriff from third to first. Eddie Perez gets the start behind the plate today for Terrell Wade, who is 3-0, a 2.35 ERA as a starter, and this is his 5th start. He is 1-0, a 4.41 ERA. But the thing about today's start, Skip, again, he's got to get ahead in the count and avoid deep counts. It is a hot day. Playing on this turf can really sap your energy.
Ricky Otero leads it off, and the first pitch is high. 1 ball, no strikes. Otero 2 out of 9 in the series, hitting .275. That's right in there, 1-1. Terrell's first start was excellent. Second start was pretty good. Second start was fair. Fourth start was not so good at all. So he's sort of headed in the wrong direction. But here he's ahead on the count, 1-2.
By this stage, he should be working a little deeper into the ball game. You know, 6th, 7th inning. But he's averaging 4 innings per start. In each of the 4 starts, he's thrown 80, 83, 80, and 84 pitches, and that's a lot.
High fastball foul back. He's ahead in the count, 1-2.
Made a start August 6th against the Phillies. No decision. The Braves bailed him out 10-4. He gave up a 3-run homer to Santiago in the first inning.
One other game is underway today. First, the pitch to Otero. Curveball, little pop fly. McGriff is there and can't make the play. It gets over his head. It'll go for a double. Fred thought he had that ball, and a bad throw from Andrew Jones goes into left field. Otero's around third. They'll hold him there, and they could have sent him. And the throw to the plate is high. That was nice. I guess they'll score at a double and an error on Andrew Jones. Fred should have had the ball.
Fred got turned around a little bit. Looked like he started backpedaling too soon on it. He turned around too quick and then couldn't reach it. Andrew Jones was coming in from right field. Thought he had a play at second. He's got a great arm, but unfortunately, his first throw in the big leagues is one over the head of Lemke. Brian Klesko quickly over to get it, but Otero winds up at third.
An error will be charged, and it will be a double. The pitch is a strike. The error is on Andrew Jones. One thing about Andrew's big league start out on 3 straight pitches as a hitter, and his first time he touches the ball in air, it's all uphill from here. Morandini doesn't get a good live fastball. It's 0-2. Infield back, willing to concede the tying run for an out. Strike called outside corner. Morandini argues about it, but he's out of there, 1 away.
That'll help pick up your defense a little bit if you come right back and strike the next guy out. Good spot on the fastball in the outside corner.
Morandini bids Hallian farewell, and Scott Rowland stands in. The infield now comes in with 1 out. A strike to Rowland. This is encouraging to see Wade throwing strikes
and getting the ball down. The ball Otero hit was up, but an afterthought type of swing.
Rowland's had a good series. He's late on that one, and he's quickly in the hole. He is 4 out of 9. He's driven in 2 runs. We got a funny looking infield. It's just hard to get used to seeing Pendleton back and as big a man as Chipper Jones at shortstop. Good shot inside, though he missed. 1-2.
I asked Chipper if he was nervous about playing third, if he was excited about it, and he said he was anxious. It had been a while since he'd been over there, but again, he said, you know, it'd just be better than the boredom I was going through last night.
Breaking ball down and in, 2-2. One other game I started to tell you. San Diego, Cincinnati, scoreless after 3. Tonight, the Giants at Pittsburgh, Colorado at Florida, Los Angeles at St. Louis, and tonight, Baltimore at Oakland in the American League. Little looping pop fly. Lemke can't get there with the infield in. It's a hit, and the game is tied. Rowland's 3rd RBI of the series. That's one of those infield in type hits. You gamble, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That time the Braves lost.
And a lot of times the hitter dictates whether or not you bring the infield in or if you leave them back. With 1 out, Bobby Cox rolled the dice hoping Rowland would hit the ball on the ground, and unfortunately he just dunks one over the head of Mark Lemke.
So Terrell Wade really deserved a better fate here. The ball hadn't been hit hard yet. Todd Zeile, the batter. One ball, no strikes. One our score in the first. Zeile's had a good solid season. A lot of rumors about him going elsewhere, but now it looks like he'll stay in Philadelphia. The Dodgers were close to making a deal for him. Larry Boa coaches at third. Dave Cash at first.
Not only is he 0 for 11 in this series, but 0 for his last 14, so he's been in a bit of a struggle of late that you might or might not relate to his move from third to first, but that shouldn't affect his swing.
Just missed low. 2 balls, 1 strike. Great pitching duel tomorrow. John Smoltz against Denny Nagel. John goes for number 20. Mike Bilecki against Steve Paris Saturday. That's a night game. And Greg Maddux and John Lieber Sunday afternoon. Zio swings late. It's 2-2.
Even when Terrell's missing here in the first inning, Skip, it's just a little bit off the plate. And that's a big improvement on his misses in his last couple of starts.
Snap throw to first. Roland gets back easily. Eddie Perez, a late addition. Javi Lopez got a sore chest. Foul tip got him last night. Runner goes, swing and miss, throw to second. He's out by about 6 miles. And the inning is over as Zeal strikes out into a double play. A run on 2 hits, nobody left. Wade deserved better at the end of 1. 1-1. I don't know if Bobby could afford the pay cut. Terry Pendleton leads off the 2nd inning. Braves president Stan Kasten here at the ballpark today, and I asked him about rumors that he and the Braves are one of the teams against the what do they call that? Service time deal. He says, I never comment on union matters. He has a very short memory, but that's all he would say. 0-1 the count. Pendleton 1 for 4 last night. He's 10 out of 38 against Schilling. A good pitch. Let up had him out in front.
Well, he was all smiles in the clubhouse last night. Very excited about being back with his old ball club and all the familiar faces. Talking about how comfortable it was.
Fouled away. I knew he was happy because I've been around this thing a long time, and it's I think the first time I walked in the clubhouse and got hugged by the third baseman. He makes his home in Atlanta, and he's in a pennant race, so naturally he's glad to be back. He has nothing but good things to say about the Marlins. And he's out on strikes. Schilling records his 3rd strikeout of the day. Here's Eddie Perez, a late addition to the scheme of things. Somebody's wrong here. Either Rafael Belliard's doing our catching or Perez is, because up on the message board they've got Belliard's stats. There's a drive into deep right center. That ball's pretty well hit. That ball's very well hit. That ball is off the wall. It'll be a double for Perez. Manny Martinez had a shot at that ball, but didn't make connections.
We talked about how deep he plays. He didn't even have to go back on this ball. He just had to cut across and run right down the warning track. That's how deep he is. See Otero going back. Out of your screen from the right comes Martinez. We had heard rumors that he had some defensive deficiencies, and we've seen evidence of that a couple of times against the Braves. He made a 2-base error in Atlanta that helped the Braves win a game.
This goes as a hit. It was well stroked, and Mark Lemke, the batter. He's hitting .258. Line into right center field. Nobody's going to get that ball. It's in for a hit. See if they can score Perez. They can. Otero misplays it. Lemke tries for second. He gets in there. It's 2-1 Atlanta. I think they're going to score it a double all the way.
I think they just about have to, because it took a turf bounce over the head of Otero, who tried to come in and get ready to make the play, and look how that ball sprang over his head. Martinez there to back up the play.
He was thinking about taking a shot at Perez coming in because he has catcher speed, but wound up playing it into an extra base for Atlanta.
This is a good sign for the offense to come right back after giving up the unearned run in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, because lately they've had less hits than whoever it was.
I have to give you a rock and roll rundown, buddy.
And the stretch pitch. Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Terrell fouls it off the screen. He is 0 for 4 on the year. 2-1 Atlanta, runner at second, 1 out. Ground ball up the middle. Can that sneak through? Yes, off the glove of Morandini. Another run will score. That too will be a hit. Terrell Wade has his first and drives in a run. It's 3-1 Atlanta. 3 hits in a row here and 5 in the game.
Jerry Crawford going to call time and ask Curt Schilling to throw the ball out. In celebration of his first big league hit, Morandini looked like he was getting set to make a play too, Skip. He was getting ready to plant his right foot so he could throw the runner out, and in doing so cut down on his range a little bit, and it cost the Phillies a run.
Well, really a misplay cost him 2 bases on Perez, a misplay cost him a base on Lemke, and a misplay cost him probably an out on Wade. They scored a base hit and an RBI. But he should have at least knocked that ball down.
Yeah, you've got to, the runner at second, at least get leather on it to keep it from getting into center field.
First major league hit and RBI for Wade. And a strike to Grissom, who doubled off the fence his first time. Padres 1-0 now over the Reds as they bat in the 5th. The Reds have had their number all year long. Fly ball fouled into right.
I was witness to a great conversation last night between Marquise Grissom and Terry Pendleton regarding the number 9. Of course, that was Terry's number and has been his number most of his major league career, and Marquise wears it now. And the discussion about who should have it now.
Into the dirt. Good play. Santiago 1-2.
Terry said that he told the guys in the clubhouse if he came into the Braves clubhouse and number 9 was hanging in his locker, he was giving it back because Marquise is on a roll, and for him to keep it. And Marquise says, well, that's why I call you Idol. That's why I've always called you Idol. You've always been one of the people I look up to, and why one of the reasons he wears number 9. Marquise told me a great story about when he was a rookie.
1-2 pitch, fouled away again.
He said that as a rookie with the Expos, he never missed visitors' batting practice. He always wanted to watch some of the veterans to see how they went about their business, and as a result, he wanted to emulate the play of Andre Dawson and Gary Carter, Fred McGriff, and Terry Pendleton.
Another 1-2. Pops away from Santiago. Terrell Wade gets the second. It's called a strike. Throw to first. High there. It goes into right field. Wade winds up at third. Grissom didn't know he was called out on strike. Now they're sending him back.
Well, see, he can't run.
The base is occupied. That's
yeah,
right.
That was an unnecessary throw made by Santiago that cost the Phillies yet another base. He just flat missed that pitch, bounced off his glove, will probably go as a pass ball and an error because Marquise is automatically out.
You forget. Second on a pass ball, third on an error. Andrew Jones comes up empty again, 0-1.
To finish that story, Marquise Grissom said he told Fred McGriff when he was with the Padres and Terry Pendleton when he was with the Braves, he told them separately, boy, I'd like to be on your team someday. And he said, look at me now, I've got them both on my team.
0-2 to Andrew. He is obviously nervous.
He's up there hacking away, though.
Yeah, that's right. 3-1 the score. Got him with a breaking ball. Jones is out on strikes again. He really looks down. Don't get depressed, kid. It's early. 5 strikeouts for Schilling. The Braves scored 2 times. On 3 hits, there was an error and a runner left. We go to the bottom half of the second inning. 3-1 Atlanta.
Consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
And some of the faces in a crowd of around 24,000, I would guess, on a business person's special in Philadelphia. Terrell Wade completes his warm-up tosses. Santiago Incavilla Martinez, the first 3 against him in the bottom of the second. 3-1 Atlanta is our score.
Braves have had some luck in day games. They're 21-14 in day games this year.
Santiago, 3 out of 8 again in the series. 21 homers, 63 RBIs. Terrell Wade goes to work. Line drive, good play, short hop Pendleton. 1 out.
Wow.
I think we've seen that before.
Yeah, he may not have the range he once had, but man, those hands are still like gold. Off the turf, a hot shot, and still handled it. Not an easy hop either. Nice and soft reaction to it.
And after the play, he and Chipper both laughing. Chipper probably said something like, "Don't make that look so hard. That was easy." Here's Incavilla. Fly ball center field. No problemo. Grissom with the glasses down. 2 out. 2 pitches, 2 out here in the bottom of the second, and Manny Martinez the batter. 1 for 3 last night. Drove in his first run, stole his second base. Martinez, a former Seattle performer. Boy, they're going bad, aren't they?
Yeah, they lost again last night to the Royals 3-1. They go on the road now, open up tomorrow night in New York, and I believe Mark Whitten is going to join them at Yankee Stadium tomorrow night.
A little bit high, 1 ball, no strikes. And Randy Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, is going to pitch perhaps Sunday.
Is that right?
I heard that somewhere. 2-0.
They've certainly lost a lot of ground in the American League West. Now 7 games back at Texas.
And they're not in real good shape in the loss in the wild card thing, are they?
They've gone 5 back of Chicago.
3-0 the count on Martinez. This is just what Wade does not want to do. He got the first 2 outs on 2 pitches and now has thrown 3 straight balls. That's right in there. And he's battled back to run it full, 3-2.
You said something last night about Martinez. I agree with you about his resemblance a little bit physically to Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, he stands like him. He hits like him. Got all the gloves and stuff. Pops that into short right. Andrew Jones has it, and the inning is over. 1-2-3, nothing doing. At the end of 2, it's 3-1 Atlanta.
Now let me get this straight. What you're saying is all the
things have gone to this point. Chipper drove in a run, his 91st, with a single in the first. Jones, McGriff, C. Jones, McGriff, and Plesko. High strike, 0-1.
Chipper's had a terrific series. It's only 4 games, but he's racked up a lot of hits.
8 out of 12.
10 points on his average.
1-1 the count. The Pirates in town tomorrow night. Smoltz and Pendleton and Andrew Jones will be featured, and this guy, Chipper, took a little off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 3-5-1 for the Braves. 1-2-1 for the Phillies. Breaking ball down and in.
One of the most difficult things for a young player when he first comes to the big leagues is to understand that baseball is still baseball no matter what level you're playing. You still got to throw the ball across the plate. Still got to make the do the fundamental things right.
He gets chipper with a high fastball. That's 6 strikeouts for Schilling to go with his 5 hits allowed.
And I was just going to say about Curt Schilling, to strike out twice against Curt Schilling is no embarrassment. He's fanning Braves left and right here today. But for a guy that's only 19 years old, to think about the added excitement of being here and trying to figure out if this is above your head, you can be a little over anxious.
Last strike to McGriff. I think you just brought up a point we all overlook. 19 years old. Grounded to first. Zio has it. Schilling gets over there in a hurry. 2 down.
I was fortunate enough when I was working with Seattle to see Ken Griffey Jr. break in. He was only 19. And I thought the Mariners did some great things in terms of helping him work his way into it. He started the year with the ball club. The PR department arranged interviews just during a certain time of day. Jim Lefevre, the manager, really insulated Ken Griffey for a while until he more or less learned the ropes in the American League. And I thought it was a wonderful way to break in.
Meanwhile, Schilling is just knocking people over. Lickety-split here in the 3rd. Reds have tied the Padres 1-1, bottom of the 5th. Only game going beside this one. Plesko, a strikeout victim his first time. Fouled it off over by Jim Fregosi in the Phillies dugout.
Curt Schilling was so valuable to the Phillies during their run to the World Series in 1993, and it's just been very tough on him since, going through elbow and shoulder problems since. Talk to people around the Phillies right now. They say they think he is finally back where he was in '93 when he was outstanding.
Oh, he was very, very good. The 2-2 to Ryan. Didn't miss by much. Schilling was on his way to the dugout. 3-2. Pirates Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're off Monday. Then the Reds in for 3. And next weekend, a week from tomorrow, the Cubs. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. They walked him. Again, he didn't miss by much. First walk by Schilling. It comes with 2 out. Terry Pendleton, a strikeout victim his first time, stands in there. Well, the odd man out today, excuse me, Joe, is Jermaine Dye, who had 3 solid hits last night. That's what happens when you got all this talent.
Yeah, had 2 doubles the night before. I was going to say Schilling was mad at himself for missing on those outside pitches. He was just trying to throw a strike, trying to be too fine.
And he misses out there again. 1 ball, no strikes. Eddie Perez would be next. There are 2 out in the inning. Braves charter home on Delta. And again, we thank the folks at Grayline Park and Fly for their great assistance to the Braves during the Olympics and the Paralympics, which get underway tonight. And I hope you folks will really consider attending. That's Profiles in Courage there, boy. Some great athletes. Lined into center field, a solid hit for Pendleton. Plesko will stop at second. Draws a throw from Otero. 2 are on, 2 are out. Perez ripped a double into the alley in right center his first time.
Terry went up and got a high pitch. Got some good extension. Forced Schilling to duck his head a little bit too, but a good swing. It's odd. Terry usually wears that double ear flap helmet. And just Maybe because it's so hot today on the turf, he's decided to wear Tom Glavine's instead.
Fastball high to Perez. 1 ball, no strikes. Pop short right center field. Martinez a long way to come, but he gets there. He's got it, and the inning is over. So the Braves mount a 2-out threat, but it comes to nothing. 1 hit. No runs, no errors. 2 left. Bottom of the 3rd. Your score 3-1 Atlanta.
Before we go to the bottom half of the 3rd inning, we'll check the scores on the Axit AR scoreboard. 1 game in progress. Cincinnati leading San Diego 3-1 behind Dave Burba. Other games tonight: Colorado at Florida. Jamie Wright on the mound for Colorado. Fernandez and Maselli at Pittsburgh tonight. Los Angeles at St. Louis. That's Hideo Nomo against Mike Morgan. 1 game in the American League tonight. Baltimore at Oakland. Mike Mussina against Adams. And that rounds out the scoreboard. A very light schedule in both leagues.
And Kevin Stocker will lead off the bottom of the 3rd. Stocker, Schilling, and Otero the first 3. Braves on top 3-1. Supposed to get up to about 86 degrees today in Philadelphia. We've been here when it's been a lot hotter than this. So.
When we saw the forecast Monday, we would certainly have welcomed this. It looked like it was going to rain all week.
We were very fortunate to get all these games in. 1-1 the count. So far, as Joe suggested, Wade has thrown strikes. And as a result, he's got a good one going. Little looping pop fly, short right field. That drops foul. They're wearing Fred out down there.
Fred was trying to help that one a little bit, too. He had a little body English going, trying to push it over into foul territory. He knew he couldn't get it, but he thought, well, I just jump up here and hope that it pushes it a little bit to the right. Jerry Crawford giving him some grief, too.
Yeah, so what was that about?
Good umpire right there.
His brother's Joey is a terrific basketball referee, too. Off his foot. Speaking of feet, the Falcons play tonight against Oakland. I don't know where that game is. I think it's Atlanta, but I'm not sure. He got him with a breaking ball. Stocker is out on strikes. That's 3 for Terrell.
He's kept the ball down at the start of play today. First 3 innings have been excellent for him. Should not have allowed a run in the first inning. Had his defense been a little better. Good breaking ball to get Stocker.
Schilling, 205 with 3 RBIs. He's not a bad hitter at all. Up and away, 1 ball, no strikes. Foul tipped, 1-1.
I saw Andrew Jones make a catch over in foul territory to end the second inning near that part of the stands that juts out. He's playing shallow right now, of course, for the pitcher, but what a nice thing for him. And he's normally a center fielder, keep in mind, so he's playing a little bit out of position. But what a great thing for him to have a guy like Marquise Grissom on his flank to help position him for the hitters. Let him know if he's playing too deep. It's a great advantage.
Fouled away. Schilling, you know, we talk about all the bad things about this ball player or that ball player. Has helped to raise more than $70,000 for Lou Gehrig's disease. And donated $25,000 himself. Taps another one foul. Awarded with Phi Delta Theta's Lou Gehrig Award, presented to the Major League Baseball player who best exemplifies the giving character of Hall of Famer and fraternity member Lou Gehrig.
I'm glad you said that. We've mentioned before we don't give enough credit or enough notice to people who do nice things.
Two balls, two strikes. What's the old saying? The squeaky wheel is the one that gets the most grease. See ya. Schilling is called out. Strikeout number 4 for Wade. The top of the order, and Ricky Otero comes to the plate. Schilling is also a World War II history buff, contributes articles to Fire and Effect, a national newsletter for fans of military board games. It's an interesting hobby. Outside to Otero, who had a pop fly double to right his first time. High pop foul. McGriff comes over. He's going to run out of room, I think. Maybe not. He reaches in. Did he make the play? Yes, he did. Good play. And then he gives the ball back to the fan that was going after it. 1, 2, 3. Nothing doing in the bottom of the third. Another look as we go out. And the Braves lead it 3-1. Here's the question. Who's the youngest player to ever play in the major leagues? We'll have the answer for you in a half inning. That's an easy one. And here with the play-by-play story, Joe Simpson.
Well, because it was a day game, I think Phil was taking it easy on everybody today. Mark Lemke leads off the 4th inning. He doubled in a run in the 2nd inning, also scored a run. Up the middle. Morandini's got that one and throws him out. I asked Mark before the game about his new contact lenses. He's wearing some new soft contacts. He said they're working out great. Able to see just fine. No blurry vision. So that's good. Especially when you're trying to hit the likes of Curt Schilling. Terrell Wade had a base hit his first time up and drove in a run. His first major league hit off the glove of Mickey Morandini up the middle. Schilling misses low.
I'm going to give you a hint on that Affleck question. He is still active in baseball, though not as a player, coach, scout, manager, general manager.
1-1 the count.
Or farm director, any of that stuff. But he's still active in baseball.
And in the National League.
Right you are.
The 1-1 pitch. Threw the fastball right by him.
Give you another hint. He's still active, and the person who runs the team that he's involved with isn't.
Stays alive by slapping one right past Jimmy Williams. Jimmy's sons Brady and Sean are with him on the road trip. Might be in uniform working as bat boys today. A couple of good-looking ball players. 2-2 to Terrell Wade.
They've had a pretty good teacher in their dad. He knows his stuff.
There's Sean sitting right next to Tom Glavine, taking in all he can. Full count. 3-2 to Terrell Wade. Schilling has walked 1. He has struck out 6. Struck out 7. And Marquise Grissom, the hitter with 2 outs, he has doubled off the wall in left field and scored a run. And he has struck out. And he is now hit in 20 straight. Otis Nixon had a 20-game hitting streak back in '91. Is this the longest since then, Phil?
Yes,
it is. Marquise has had a lot of success against Schilling. He takes a strike. He's now 17 for 38 with a homer against Curt Schilling. Did he lay off the breaking ball? Apparently so. No appeal made. 1-1 the count. Marquise now with 156 hits. Slices one to right and deep. Martinez is going to have to play it off the wall. No chance. It's over the wall. An opposite field line drive home run for Marquise Grissom. Get hotter than he is. A double, a home run in 3 trips, his 19th homer of the year, and his 55th RBI. 4-1 Atlanta. Man, oh man.
19 home runs for him. He is just a strong guy. You keep forgetting that because he bounced leadoff.
He pulled a changeup for a home run off of Matt Beach the other night. Now he goes the opposite way against Schilling. Andrew Jones, his 3rd at bat, pops one up in foul territory. Todd Zeile under it. He's got it, and that'll end the inning. But the Braves get the run on the home run by Grissom, and we've played 3.5. 4-1 Braves.
Youngest player ever to play in the major leagues. Reds broadcaster Joe Nuxall during the war. 15 years, 10 months, 11 days. By the way, Joe, which of the 50 states has hosted the most major league games during the 1900s? This is a bonus question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Pennsylvania. 19,036.
It's good to know. I'll contemplate that on the plane home this afternoon.
Here, keep this.
Thank you. Mickey Morandini will start the inning, the 4th inning for the Phillies. He took a called 3rd strike his first time up. 1 out of 12 in the series. Bottom of the 4th, 4-1 Atlanta. 0-2 to Morandini. By the way, were you a little surprised at the, I guess, the leniency regarding the suspensions on that fight in Montreal between the Astros and Expos?
Only one surprised me, and that was Moises Alou. I thought he'd get a lot more than 4 games for throwing a helmet. He could have knocked somebody's eye out.
How can you let a player throw a piece of equipment like that with malicious intent? It was not accidental. He was trying to injure someone with it, and did, and he got 4 games. What's the difference between that and taking a bat out there and using it on somebody? I was really surprised, a little disappointed that there wasn't a little steeper measure taken in that.
Who makes that decision? The league president?
I guess Leonard Coleman did. Ground ball to second. Lemke's got it. 1 out. I mean, even Felipe Alou said if they see the tapes and find something abnormal happen that's different than other fights, then players should pay the consequences. Scott Rowland singled and drove in a run his first time up. That was back in the 1st inning. A little looper over a drawn-in infield that plated Ricky Otero for the Phillies' only run, and he slaps one back to the middle for a base hit. He's 2 for 2, and now 6 for 11 in the series. He is a good-looking young player.
He hit a good fastball and hit it sharply on the ground up the middle. Rico Carty, by the way, holds the Atlanta Braves consecutive hitting streak, 31 games.
Todd Zeile looking for his first hit of the series. Struck out in the 1st inning, 0 for 12. Rowland at first base, by the way, is only 21. Good-looking young prospect. 1-0 to Zeile, whose average has dropped to 260 in this series. There's a strike. 1-1.
Funny, isn't it, Joe, the difference between at the end of the year, if you look at a guy's average and it's 259 as opposed to 261. 259, you say, boy, he didn't have much of a year. 261, you say, oh, pretty good year.
Yeah, numbers play some tricks on you. In the dirt, nice stop by Eddie Perez. Count 2-1. Eddie threw out Scott Rowland trying to steal as Zeile struck out to end the 1st inning. Made a perfect throw to second to get the double play. Out of play, and the count 2-2. Giants come to Philadelphia tomorrow for a weekend series. Slice to right field, and that'll get through for a base hit. Roland's going to try for third. No, he's not. Throw to second. They got him picked off as he rounded the bag too far. Andruw Jones threw a bullet that was low enough to be cut off. And boy, you kids at home, that's why you hit the cutoff man for just such a play. Larry Boa threw up the stop sign, and Roland couldn't stop.
He stopped, but he landed right on his wallet. You'll see it here, I think. There he stops, but his feet go out from under him. By the time he gets to his feet, I don't know if he could have gotten back anyway, but by then he had no shot.
And if the throw goes over Chipper's head into third base, he makes it back easily. Good play by the kid in right field. A runner at first and 2 out for Santiago, who hit a hot shot to Pendleton at third base, who made a nice play and threw him out. Swing, but he foul tips it, and the count 1-1. He's had another good series against the Braves, 4 for 9 with a double.
I like the Andruw Jones's quotes in the paper. Said, "I'm just thrilled to be here now. I've got to prove to everybody that I belong here," and that's exactly right.
Up the middle, another base hit for Santiago. So the play at second base by Andruw Jones and Chipper Jones turns out to be a big one. It saves a run. Something else he said that had a little more long-term thought to it also was that he wanted to help the Braves win the division and make it to the World Series. So he's got winning on his mind too, and that's great. First and second, 2 out for Incaviglia, who flied out to center his first time up. Incaviglia has not had much playing time since Greg Jeffries was moved from first base to left field. But he's getting the start today as Jeffries gets the day off. Must have been a little bit low. 1 ball, no strikes. There's a strike, 1-1. That's the good thing about Terrell Wade today. Even if he's thrown ball 1 to a hitter, he comes right back with a strike. He has struck out 4, and he has not walked a batter today. 2-1 to Incaviglia. And that start against the Phillies on the 6th of August, he walked 4 in 4 innings.
Incaviglia, 199 Major League homers.
3-1. How about Eddie Murray? 2 more homers yesterday. It's up to 497. Is that right?
Maybe 498, Joe.
98.
You're right, 97.
3-1 pitch. He did walk him. First free pass of the day, and that loads him up. For Martinez, who fouled out to Andruw Jones in right field his first time up. Leo Mazzoni is going to join Eddie Perez for a visit at the mound. Terry Pendleton comes in. Something else about Pendleton as they have this discussion. You know, a lot of times when a veteran comes to a ball club, especially if it's a new team that he's not familiar with, most of the people go over to that particular player, you know, welcome to the ball club. Well, there's a lot of young kids on this team right now for the Braves. Terry was going around introducing himself to Joe Borowski and to Terrell Wade and others. Martinez 1 for 3 last night, 0 for 1 today. Bases loaded. Chance for the Phillies to get right back in it, trailing 4-1. Did he go? Yes, he did, says Jerry Crawford. 0-1.
I think we caught a break. Let's see. Oof.
Yeah, he did not exaggerate it anyway. Just off the plate, 1-1. No activity in the Braves bullpen. One and two the count. And really, other than the run he gave up in the first inning, which was not his fault, this is the only trouble he's been in. It's like the Phillies haven't had many hits in this situation, but they've had some long ones. A ball and 2 strikes. Struck him out. Nice job by Terrell Wade. After loading the bases, he comes back to strike out Martinez. His 5th strikeout of the day. We've played 4, and the Braves are on top 4-1. Nice throw to second that picked off Scott Rowland.
First guy to greet him was Jermaine Dye. That's just great to see.
Jermaine Dye is still going to get a lot of playing time. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him playing tomorrow night against Denny Nagel. Pretty tough left-handed pitcher. But we'll see what happens when the Braves come home tomorrow night. Hope you'll be with us. Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff, and Ryan Klesko for Atlanta in the 5th. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Braves. 1 run, 5 hits for the Phillies. Each side has an error. Chipper's single in the first inning extended his hitting streak to 10 games. He is at 319. That's something else about Chipper that we don't talk enough about his knowledge of the strike zone. You rarely see him swing at any bad pitches. He is willing to go deep in the count until he gets a pitch he likes. And if he does fall behind like this, 1 and 2 now, he's not afraid to go the other way. Just a smart hitter. Still 1 and 2.
The ball girl just about got nailed with that one. It took a bad half off the railing. There's a real nail biter out there.
Good swing, fouled it back. Still 1 and 2. You know, we talk a lot about the guys in Colorado and the great seasons they're having offensively. But if the Braves go on and finish up the season as they did last year, getting into the playoffs, you got to consider Chipper Jones for some MVP votes too. 2 and 2.
Especially if he keeps it up, bouncing around from right field to third base to shortstop to right field to shortstop to third base.
And without any complaints. Two-2 pitch. Oh, mercy. Chipper's got another chance. Santiago and Schilling both thought they had him struck out.
See if it was low. Not really.
A free swing on the house for Chipper. Out of play. Other than that throw to second base by Andruw Jones, I don't know that Chipper's had a play at shortstop yet, has he?
I don't think so.
No, not yet. Has not been tested. That one might stay in play for Scott Rowland. He looks up into the sunshine and couldn't make the catch. No play rule, no error.
Chipper is a leading a charmed life. He checked the railing once too often here and then lost the ball completely right here. By then it's too late.
And he will learn, of course, to get over there a little bit quicker and then make your adjustments instead of drifting on the ball. I think he thought he had more room for that one than he did. Chipper on about his 8th life in this at bat. Bounces one to third. Backhanded by Rowland. He's got a great arm and throws him out. He's got a gun over there. And they finally retire Chipper Jones.
Made a good play on the short hop and then sets up and cuts it loose. If for some reason he doesn't make it as a hitter, he's got a great future as a short relief man. What an arm.
Fred McGriff 0 for 2, 1 for 14 in the series. Takes a strike. Schilling with another good fastball that just missed. The count even. Two and one. Klesko to follow. Out of play. Fred's average now at 286.
That's a hit every 3.5 at bats.
You're just Mr. Math today, aren't you?
That's me.
Down the left field line, but slicing into the seats. Nice play by a fan who brought his glove to the game.
It's from McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Is that over in the western half?
Western half of what?
Pennsylvania.
I don't know. It could be.
Check swing, but he went around, says Tom Hallion. He's down on strikes. Fred didn't think so, but that's strikeout number 8 for Schilling.
See if he went. Yeah, Fred, sorry, you went far enough, right?
Yeah. Klesko struck out and walked. 0 for 9 in the series. Schilling just has been trying to pepper that outside corner on him. Missed with that one. Andruw Jones has made the jump from A ball to the big league. Some other players of note that you may recognize that have done the same thing recently. Greg Swindell, Chuck Finley of the California Angels. John Smiley did it. So did Ricky Henderson. Some pretty good work in 1 year. But I don't think any of them, perhaps with the exception of Ricky Henderson, I'm trying to no, the A's were not, but I was going to say none of them did it with the defending world champions. Two and one to Klesko. Chased a bad ball, like Schilling took a little bit off his fastball, and now the count even 2 and 2. It's almost like Schilling is saying to Ryan, if you're going to stand that far off the plate, I'm going to make you reach for everything out away from you. Did he lay off that sinker? Yes, he did. Wally Bell says he didn't go, and the count full 3 and 2. Tom Hallion wants to check it after it skipped in the dirt. He's going to put a new ball in play. The Braves 32 and 25 on the road. That's second only to the Padres in the National League. Padres 34 and 28. Klesko down on strikes for the second time today, and another good inning for Curt Schilling. He has spanned 9, but he goes to the bottom of the 5th. Trailing 4-1 as Skip and Joe head over to radio. Don and Pete head over to TV.
This one 4-1 to score and beat, although Andrew Jones has had a little trouble offensively. It certainly hasn't affected his instincts in the outfield, has it?
No, made a great throw last inning, and now Terrell Wade. He's never gone longer than 5 innings as a starter, going into his 5th inning here. See if he can get over this hump today.
Kevin Stocker will greet him in the pitcher spot next, and Otero waiting in the hole. That's foul ball. 0-2.
Wow.
Yeah, that got somebody solidly. Boy, we say it, but we cannot emphasize it enough. If you're coming to a ball game and you sit down low, watch the ball, keep your eyes on it. Sometimes that isn't enough, but at least you give yourself a 50-50 chance. And if you're with youngsters, mom and dad, keep an eye on them. Not them, the hitters. No balls and 2 strikes, and Terrell Wade looks like he is a little bit shaken by that. Bounces a breaking ball up there, 1-2.
Well, everybody's instincts when a ball is hit is to try to get the souvenir, but when a ball is hit that hard, you're best off just getting out of the way any way you can. And especially if you've got youngsters with you, make sure they get out of the way. That time the youngster tried to make a play and he got nailed by that foul ball.
Just off the corner, that'll even it at 2-2. Pete, we take the bus out with the players most of the time, so we get to see them put on their game faces and get ready to play. Another one close but no cigar, 3-2. Boy, with Terrell Wade, you don't know if he's starting or going for a swim or playing golf when he gets on the bus, do you?
Very even-keeled guy. Some starting pitchers a little touchy on the day that they're pitching.
No. Forsooth. That time he gets the call. Took 3 shots at it. Got one of them to pay off, and Terrell Wade has his 6th strikeout.
You see Perez set up in the outside corner. Missed the target by just a thread, but Perez did a good job of not showing much movement on the glove there.
Well, that is so important to getting those calls. 1 out for Curt Schilling. He was a strikeout victim in the 3rd inning. This one goes to Lemke. Easy play for the Braves second baseman. Out number 2, 3 in a row set down by Terrell Wade. We'll go to the top of the order in Ricky Otero. Who are some of the more touchy ones that you have seen?
Well, Gaylord Perry, one of the great guys to be around 4 days out of 5. But on that 5th day when he was pitching, he didn't say much to Gaylord that morning or that evening if it was a night game.
Andy Messersmith that I played with and you saw here a little bit like that too.
They tell us Bob Gibson was like that when he was pitching, that you didn't even say hello to him if he was going to be the starting pitcher that night.
And if you were an opposing player, you didn't say hello to him anyway.
No.
He did not like people in other uniforms.
And again, one of the great guys to be around, but everybody gets a game face in a different fashion.
Otero, 1 out of 2, double, scored the only run of the day for the Phillies.
How were you on the days you were pitching?
Up to about an hour before, fine. I just didn't like surprises. We'll do just about anything you want. Little looper to left. Klesko's going to play it safe. Play it on a hop, and Otero with the big turn as his 2nd hit of the day. Phillies may have found themselves another leadoff man.
He's done a great job. Lenny Dykstra on the shelf since undergoing back surgery. I saw Lenny, by the way, about an hour or so before game time. He's here at the ballpark today. Coming along fine. He had the back surgery about 4 weeks ago. Extensive back surgery. There were several things wrong with the back, including a disc problem. And he told me that when the doctors operated, they said the damage done to his back, they don't see how he played for the last couple of years. It was that severe.
Morandini 0 for 2 as he stands in. Takes it outside, 1-0. To continue to answer your question, about an hour before time to go play was when I kind of like to move into my own little bubble and could get grouchy. In the air to center field, Grissom on his horse. He'll be standing still when he catches it. A nice running catch by Marquise Grissom, and the Phillies come away empty here in the 5th, leaving a runner stranded at 1st. We have completed 5. It's the Braves with 4, the Phillies with 1.
He's given up the 1 run. Marquise Grissom matching his career high with his 19th homer back in the 4th inning. And the Braves trying to make it 3 out of 4 over the Phillies. As we go to the 6th inning, at the end of the inning, Chipper Jones, Marquise Grissom, and third base umpire Wally Bell over to check on that youngster who got hit by the line drive trying to catch it. And there you see Marquise Grissom donating a bat.
Well, they won't stop the pain right now, but a little bit later on, when the shock is over, he'll remember Marquise Grissom's gesture, and it should not surprise you if you're around him to see him do something like that. Terry Pendleton to lead it off here in the 6th. Doesn't get the first one from Schilling. Schilling with 9 strikeouts. He's set down 4 in a row since Grissom's homer.
He's had 10 strikeouts twice this year, including his first game back off the disabled list in 7 innings, and he also struck out 10 when he shut out the Pirates.
Off speed and good pitch to Pendleton, and the count 0-2. Pendleton a base hit last night. 1 out of 2 as he stands there now. Takes the high fastball. A ball and 2 strikes. Pendleton, Perez, and Lemke. First 3 due up. Braves half of the 6th inning. 4-1. 4-7-1 for the Braves. A run on 6 hits and an error for the Phils. That's also high, and it's 2-2. Anybody on the Braves Elvis fans, do you know?
Let me think.
Because this is Elvis Presley week. Chopper toward first. Schilling will have to hurry. He makes the play.
Foul ball.
They're going to call it a foul ball, and we'll come back and try it again.
Almost got tangled up here along the first baseline. In fact, Pendleton has to sidestep Schilling. But you saw Terry indicate foul ball. Then the call came from plate umpire Tom Hallion. I don't know about your question about Elvis fans. I'm just looking
it's
up,
Elvis
up and down
Presley
the
week.
roster.
I was doing some more of my research for useless bits of information.
If I had to guess one, and I have no idea about this, but if I had to guess one, my guess would be Mike Bilecki.
Yeah.
But that's just a guess.
Swing and a miss by Pendleton. There's 10 strikeouts for Schilling, including the last 3, McGriff, Klesko, and Pendleton. And Eddie Perez will bat with 1 gone.
Third time this year he's had 10 in a game. His career high is 12, which he got against the Marlins last year. We're only in the 6th inning, so if he stays in there, he's got a shot at that today.
Perez 1 out of 2, doubled and scored in the 2nd inning, and then flied to right in the 3rd. He takes it high, 1-0. That fastball registering in the middle 90s. The biggest Elvis Presley fanatic I was ever around in sports, Charlie Huff.
Really?
Charlie had Elvis T-shirts that he would pitch in, and they were some of the ugliest T-shirts you have ever seen.
He never bought one of those velvet pictures, did he?
Yeah, I think he had them given to him. But Charlie and his wife Sharon, when the King was alive, would make sure they were at all the concerts they could find, and they still, if there was ever like the Deadhead group for Elvis Presley. No offense, Chaz. I bet he's teaching all those youngsters out at San Bernardino Elvis Presley music. Next one is wide to Eddie Perez. That's 3-1. But I'm just finding out every week is some kind of week here, isn't it? Wooden shoes week, stuff like that. Perez doesn't get the fastball. It's 3-2. It's also left-hander day this week. I think it was yesterday. So Perez or Terrell Wade pitching in the right week. If it was yesterday, Tom Glavine might argue with it, though. Payoff pitch to Eddie Perez. He sends it skyward. But he ended up about 15 rows back into the crowd, and it's still 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Wasn't sure if that one was going to stay in play or not. Wasn't sure if he should have hit that ball over the left field wall instead of back where he did.
Still 3-2. Perez, one of those guys. You see a guy for a little bit. You get either 1 or 2 scouting reports. Either he's going to play enough, they're going to find the holes, or he's going to play enough, he's going to get better. And I think you'd have to fit Eddie Perez into that second category.
Well, I think it would, because he's one of the few guys that has gotten better and better offensively as he's moved higher up the ladder. That's very unusual. Usually players hit a certain level where they have trouble matching their past numbers. For Perez, it's been just the opposite. The higher up he's gone, the better he's hit.
And especially with part-time players, that seems to be the truth. Doesn't get the breaking ball after looking at 2 fastballs about chin high. Schilling drops the slider out there. 4 strikeouts in a row. 11 for the day, 2 gone in the 6th.
Season high for Curt Schilling with his 11th strikeout. Good breaking ball down and away. Just 1 off his career high now in strikeouts, but still trailing 4-1.
And he'll face Mark Lemke with 2 gone. Lemke doubled in a run in the 2nd inning. Grounded to second, leading off the 4th. 1 out of 2, the average up at 260. On the ground and through into right field. So maybe Lemke's starting to heat up again. Remember, he has spent most of the year above 280. Only in the last month or so has the average dipped down into the 250s and the 260s. That 2-out hit does a couple of things, doesn't it, that the Braves really like?
Gets Terrell Wade up in this inning. If he makes the last out, you got Grissom leading off the next.
Instead of having the pitcher. Normally you say it's an automatic out, but Terrell Wade got his first career base hit, first RBI, first time he faced Schilling. He has his 2nd career hit. I think Terrell kind of likes his starting stuff. Back-to-back singles, 1st and 2nd for Marquise Grissom.
He's looked very comfortable at the plate today. Hasn't had much of a chance to hit pitching out of the bullpen most of his major league career. Got a pitch that was down and away and just went with it.
I'm telling you, it's left-handers day. For the Braves, hit number 9. They have out-hit the Phillies 9-6. Looking to do a little 2-out damage here in the 6th inning. Give Terrell Wade a little more cushion. Grissom, a pair of extra base hits, a double, a homer. Doesn't get the first one. 0-1. He has an RBI, and he scored 1.
The real key for that at bat, though, for Terrell Wade is he's going to be pitching into the 6th inning now. Longest stint he's gone as a starting pitcher.
And he'll play it station to station on the base paths unless Grissom hits one out of here. In the air, shallow right field. Who wants it? Looks like it's going to be Martinez, the right fielder, with the sunglasses down. 3rd out of the inning. The Braves come away empty, leaving a couple stranded. Lemke at 2nd, Wade at 1st. To the bottom of the 6th, the Braves are up by 3. Perry out of Brunswick, Georgia. Here's what you got. Saturday, Yankee Stadium for the Yankees and the Tigers. Sunday and Monday in Cooperstown to visit the Hall of Fame. Tuesday, doubleheader, Braves and the Phillies. Wednesday, Camden Yard, where the Orioles beat the Brewers, and Eddie Murray and Alomar had good days. Thursday, today, back at the Vet for one more Braves game. Tomorrow, tour Washington, D.C., including the Smithsonian. And Saturday, back home.
Plus a nice card.
Yeah, how about that?
That is some birthday.
That's Jonathan Perry visiting here. He's a big Braves fan, along with his dad, Ronnie, and Jim and Judson Seymour, their friends. Rolling to lead it off, and we thank Wayne Stewart, who is owner of the Braves radio affiliate, WGIG, down in Brunswick, for sending us that bit of information. So happy birthday. I think I want to be adopted by your family. 2 balls and no strikes to Roland. He's got a perfect day going, not only here, but a couple of sparkling defensive plays. Not only offensively, but a couple of sparkling defensive plays. He's been fine getting to first. It's getting past first that's given him a little trouble. He singled in the 1st inning, was out on a botched hit and run. He singled in the 4th inning and then was thrown out as he got too far around second and slipped down. A nice play. The Jones boys combination got him. Andrew the chipper. There's a strike, and it's 3-1. And you can bet the Braves dugout right now monitoring every pitch thrown by Terrell Wade.
That was his 80th pitch. He came out of his last 4 starts after 80 pitches.
And there's his 2nd walk of the ball game. You want him to continue to get stronger and be able to go longer, but boy, Pete, I bet the thinking right now is you don't want to sacrifice the effort you've gotten to this point.
Now, and you see Bobby Cox asking Eddie Perez to go out and talk to Terrell Wade to buy a little time for his bullpen, which is up now. Pedro Borbon, the left-hander, Brad Clontz, the right-hander, have begun to throw. And his previous starts, Wade got through the 5th inning, his first start with 80 pitches, through the 4th inning, his next 2. He's gotten into the 6th inning this time, so he's gone a little deeper into the game. His control has been better. Now let's see if he can get past this point.
You will see this ball club for the next 6 weeks having to have a pitcher, coach, and a manager make fewer and fewer trips to talk out there with Terry Pendleton at third.
That was the limit, apparently.
And here comes Bobby Cox. And you saw the sign. That does not mean he's working on his curveball. He means the Braves are going to go to the bullpen, and we're going to see the right-hander. Braves lead it 4-1. And Rolen standing at first, his responsibility. It'll be Brad Klontz coming out of the bullpen for the Braves. Here's a look at the side wheeler. We'll run through his numbers for you. That earned run average has been creeping up his last few outings. The league hitting .249 against Klontz. He has inherited 44 runners. 17 of them have scored. Nobody else in the bullpen has come close to inheriting as many runners as Brad Klontz.
That's become his role. One of the things that Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni are very big on is everybody in that bullpen knowing exactly what their role is and facing that situation more times than not when they come into a game. And Klontz's role is coming in with inherited runners and getting out of the inning as best he can. He very rarely starts an inning.
This is his 63rd appearance. That's a lot of appearances for mid-August. And if you're wondering what the franchise record is, Rick Camp holds it. It's 77. That done back in 1980. So that mark definitely within range for Brad Klontz. Todd Zeile to bat first against him. There's strike one. Good start for Klontz. 0-1. Zeile struck out swinging and singled against Terrell Wade. On the ground, could be two. Pendleton to Lemke. Lemke to McGriff. Pitcher's best friend. 2 for the price of 1. 5, 4, 3 if you want to write it in the book. And you get a lot of ground ball outs off of Brad Klontz.
And there's another inherited runner that the Braves won't have to worry about as the double play takes care of him. A little bit of a high throw, but Lemke has so many ways of turning that double play down at second base. I don't think it matters where you get the ball to him.
You see so many second basemen that get locked into one way of doing it, don't you? And if they don't get the throw right there, you may not even get one out. Here is the Braves' nemesis. Not only this year, but it seems like for the last couple of years, Benito Santiago has another hit today. He's 1 out of 2. A unanimous Rookie of the Year selection back in 1987. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago that he broke in. On the ground, another base hit. I'll tell you what, put a Journal-Constitution newspaper in his hands and have Wohlers out there, and I figured he's going to find some way to get a base hit.
Well, he is now 13 for 36 off Atlanta pitching this year with 5 homers and 13 of his 63 RBIs have come against the Braves. And you're right, it doesn't matter where the pitch is. He threw his bat basically at that pitch and still winds up getting a base hit out of it.
When he comes to the plate and hits, you'd swear the Braves were using only 1 outfielder and only 1 infielder, and they were always on the wrong side. He'll stand at first for Pete Incaviglia, who looks at ball 1 outside.
And that ball probably would have gotten through anyway, Don, but Chipper Jones has such a way of playing his infield position, whether it be third or short. He saw where the pitch was going. He was breaking toward the bag at second, thinking if Santiago was going to hit it anywhere, he might hit it up the middle. Instead, he pulled it somehow.
2-0 to Incaviglia. Yeah, isn't the book on pitches away you're supposed to hit them to right? That's what they say, but then they never face Santiago. Did you see the little shrug he gave McGriff when he got the first after that base hit? Chances are Fred asked him, how do you do that? 3 balls and no strikes to Incaviglia. At the knees, 3-1. I don't think you will ever see Incaviglia on one of Joe Simpson's radio pregame shows. He was a star at Oklahoma State University. Joe out of OU. In the air, headed for the right field corner. Andrew Jones will watch it get over the wall and in foul territory. Not trying to jump on the bandwagon for the youngster. There'll be enough of those folks around, but he seems to show no fear in this ballpark.
No, it's a tricky ballpark to play either left or right field. Then you've got the corners with all the little edges in them out there. You've also got the point, as they call it, where the box seats come around and curl in close to the foul line, about 300 feet away. And we saw Jones tiptoe around that point, make a catch in foul territory earlier. So he's adapted very quickly to a ballpark that I'm sure is a lot different than any he's played in before.
Incaviglia with 16 homers this year, 199 in his career, and the Braves wish him well on 200 starting tomorrow night. They would rather not watch that milestone be accomplished here. Runner going. Ball 4.
Well, Eddie Perez tried to sell that to first base coach, or first base umpire, rather, Jerry Crawford. You see a lot of times when catchers will appeal down to first, but not with the animation that Eddie Perez did there. He was heading back to the Braves dugout and pointing down to Crawford, trying to sell the call. Watch it right here. Yes, he did. Yes, he did, says Eddie. No, he didn't, said Jerry.
Jeffries has a bat. He is loosening up. Looks like he's going to hit for Martinez, and it looks like Bobby Cox is going to go to his bullpen. And he's going to bring on another right-hander. I saw Greg McMichael throwing down there. I don't know how long he's been throwing. Pedro Borbon is ready too, and it is going to be Greg McMichael.
Greg Jeffries coming up, who's going to be batting left-handed against either one of them. But early in the year when Pedro Borbon was ailing and the Braves were a little short on left-handers out in the bullpen late in games, Greg McMichael was the guy Bobby would bring in to face left-hand hitters because his stuff acts more like a lefty's than any of the other right-handers the Braves have out there. So he has better success getting left-hand hitters out most times.
In that category of inherited runners, McMichael with 9 inherited, 4 have scored. That's 44%. That's the Secretary of Defense, Jimmy Williams, lining up his troops. That's saying play taller in case he hits it over your head. Here is Jeffrey. The first one is outside, 1-0. Jimmy Williams pores over the scouting reports and the charts, some of them put together by Jimmy Guadagno, some by scouts, and has them committed to memory. Has a little book down there, so he positions the club defensively. But Michael's second misses, and it's 2-0. For Jeffries, this will be the first time this year he has come off the bench as a pinch hitter. Only 5 homers, 30 RBIs. Not too much success against McMichael, and he has spent a lot of time on the disabled list. That'll catch the inside corner. It's 2-1. A nubber toward third, but that's going to kick foul. Even at 2-2.
One thing about this ballpark, any ball hit off the end of the bat like that going down the line, there's a little bit of a bow to this field. And if you stand at home plate and you're a catcher and you roll a ball down the foul line, it's going to curl off into foul territory. There's just enough of an angle. So if you've got one hit down the line, it's best just to give it time and back away from it, let it roll, because 99% of the time it's going to roll foul.
That's a little bit contrary to what you see in most turf fields, because don't they have the grain going toward the outfield?
Usually.
And turf does have grain. The nap of the turf will lay one way or the other. And usually it lays towards center field. Whole lot of room for Jeffries in right center. Andrew Jones protecting the line. Grissom and Klesko swung around toward left. On the ground and foul. It's still 2-2.
Rick Cerrone taught me that when he was catching for the Braves for a couple of years. It was his first time in the National League, and every time he got to a new National League ballpark that he hadn't played in before, the first thing he would do would be to get behind home plate and roll balls down the first base line, roll balls down the third base line. And every field had its own distinct personality.
Another 2-2 pitch to Jeffries. Liner to left field. They're going to wave Santiago home. The throw will come into third. The Phillies are battling back. Off the bench comes Jeffries. An RBI single. It's a 4-2 ball game. Boy, that double play now that Zeal grounded into looms very large.
And a good effort here by Jeffries. That ball breaking quite sharply away from him. He just went with it. And picks up his 31st RBI of the year on his first pinch hit appearance of the year.
And Gavilia stands at second. Jeffries you see there at first. Kevin Stocker will bat with 2 gone. Against Wade, well, let's put it this way. He is not unhappy to see the left-hander out of there. He struck out twice. Once looking and once swinging. In the air and out of play. Fine outing for Terrell Wade pitching into the 6th inning. Stocker is one Philly who's had a little success against Greg McMichael. He's 3 out of 8. On the ground, fair or foul, it's a fair ball. McGriff will do the honors himself. But the Phillies do strike for 1. They get a lot of base runners, but can only push 1 across. A run on 2 hits and a couple left. We have completed 6. It's now a 2-run ball game. The Reds and the Braves, and tomorrow night, boy, there's a whole lot going on. One of the best pitching matchups of the year. Denny Nagel against John Smoltz. Smoltz will be trying to win his 20th. Andrew Jones will be making his first start in front of the home crowd, and welcome back Terry Pendleton. So a lot going on. Still a lot going on here, Pete.
And Pete Incaviglia moves to right field. Greg Jeffries stays in the game in left as Andrew Jones leads off and takes a strike to start the 7th inning. He has struck out twice and fouled out to first in his major league debut. 19 years old. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jones, who had .339 combined in the minor leagues this year with 34 homers, 92 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases. Here's the 1-1 fly ball, pretty well hit right center field. Long run for Incaviglia, long run for Otero. Incaviglia makes the catch on the warning track in deep right center field. So Jones gives you a little idea of the kind of power he's got, hitting that ball the opposite way, about 375 feet or so.
Gives you a little idea that he may be a little bit out of the Jermaine Dye mold, too. That was a pretty good breaking ball out away from him. And he wasn't intimidated, didn't pull off of it, dove right into it, and he hit that ball about 380 out there. So you're right. Good strong wrists and good power the other way.
Now Chipper Jones 1 for 3 and a run scoring single in the 1st inning. He's got a 10-game hitting streak. He takes a strike from Schilling, 0-1. Chipper at .318, 5th in the league in hitting when the day began. 1 ball, 1 strike. Nobody
on the Phillies had faced Andrew Jones, but I guarantee you, yesterday at noon, or yesterday when the deal was made, it was announced, they had a report on it. Because you go to your minor league managers, you go to scouts, you go to minor league coaches, but they had a full page on Andrew Jones by 5 o'clock yesterday.
I doubt if anyone had a very effective scouting report on him based on the numbers he compiled in the minor leagues.
Maybe what they did is they asked, how did you pitch him? And then they're going against
what were the results? 3-1 the count now on Chipper Jones. 1 out, base is empty here in the 7th. Well, the count was 2-2. Scoreboard had it wrong. And that's a 12 strikeout day for Curt Schilling, matching his career high, which he compiled a year ago against the Florida Marlins.
Off speed, down and away, good location, good movement, good arm speed. All the things you want to have going for you if you're going to go split finger down and away.
And now Fred McGriff, who's 0 for 3. He's flied to center, grounded out to first, and struck out. Takes the first one up high, ball 1. Little tap out towards second. Morandini runs it down on to first. 1, 2, 3 go the Braves in the seventh. Curt Schilling pitching well, but trailing 4-2 as the Phils come to bat in the bottom half of the seventh. With the series with the Phillies, Braves up 4-2 as they try to make it 3 out of 4 over Philadelphia. And Ruben Amaro is going to pinch hit for Curt Schilling to lead off here in the bottom of the seventh, hitting .305 with a homer and 4 RBIs. He's a switch hitter, but they use him primarily hitting from the left side. Reason being, he's a .370 hitter left-handed. Only 1 for 13 under 100 right-handed. And Greg McMichael trying to get through the seventh here, maintain the 2-run lead. First one foul back, to count 0-1. In the bullpen for Philadelphia, left-hander Ricardo Jordan, right-hander Toby Borland are up. The 0-1. Up and in, 1 ball, 1 strike. Now the 1-1 on the way, and that missed high. 2-1. Lemke runs this one down on the first in time. Amaro retired, 1 gone. And back now to the top of the order, and Ricky Otero, who has doubled and singled in 3 trips. Otero now at .279 for the year. Nothing, and 1 the count. Got the bunt down the third base line. Let it roll, Terry. There's a case of that.
There's your scouting report, Pete.
Anything close is normally going to roll foul in this ballpark, and proof of it right there. That ball started out about 1 foot fair.
You know you can bunt, and you know you're good at it. If you stand into that batter's box and you look over at the third baseman, and he's 8-10 feet in front of the bag, as Terry Pendleton was there and creeping in, and you still try to lay it down, and he came within inches of laying down another perfectly.
He has 9 bunt hits already this year, and he didn't start the year here.
We've seen 1 of those.
Now an 0-2 pitch on the way to Otero. It missed low and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Morandini waiting on deck. Kind of threw his bat at that one. Lemke almost the same play he had before. A little quicker runner this time, though, and Otero just is thrown out. Same play, but better speed from the hitter to make it that close. 2 gone.
Mark Lemke was just motioning to Fred McGriff the way he threw the bat. I thought it was going to go the other way. The ball was out away from him, and he did a good job of reversing his field. He's still talking to Fred McGriff about it, making that weight transfer to the right side because he thought it was going up the middle, almost like you were talking about with Chipper Jones, and still hustling over to close the gap and make the play.
Morandini 0 for 3 today, just 1 for 14 now in this series. And the count 0-1 on Mickey Morandini. Here's the 1-strike delivery, ripped foul. Up into the seats, right side, 0-2. One ball, 2 strikes, the count now on the Phillies' second baseman. Not having a very good month of August, is he? Here's the 1-2 pitch. He's down and strikes. McMichael a 1-2-3 seventh inning. First strikeout for Dreg. We go to the eighth. Still 4-2 Atlanta.
In a losing cause for the Padres. Later on, it's going to be Colorado at Florida, San Francisco at Pittsburgh, L.A. at St. Louis, Nomo and Morgan. That matchup there. One game in the American League, and that is a good match. Mike Messina on the mound for Baltimore. He'll be going against Mark McGuire and those hard-hitting Oakland A's, and you are up to date on the Delta scoreboard.
And as we go to the eighth inning, new pitcher Ricardo Jordan, a left-hander, takes over for the Phillies. See his numbers for Philadelphia. He was at Scranton for a good part of the season, 3-3 in 32 games with a 5.26 ERA, but he did average over a strikeout per inning. Quite a few walks, though.
How often do we say that, though, with young pitchers?
Used to be in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Came over in a Paul Quantrill trade. And here's Ryan Klesko leading off the eighth. In for a strike, 0-1. Phillies have had the market cornered on Jordans the last few years. Remember Ricky Jordan, who played first base for him for several years. And then they had Kevin Jordan, who's on the disabled list right now, and now Ricardo Jordan.
How did Brian miss a stop here?
Don't know. Give him time. Here's the 1-1. Now 5-2-1 the count, and Klesko. Klesko today, 2 strikeouts and a walk. Schilling worked 7, allowed 9 hits, 4 runs. Walked 1, struck out a career high 12. Three and 1 the count now, and Ryan Klesko.
Jordan has one of those pitching motions that if you're a coach, you would not try to change him, but he would not run your Little League camp.
Out of Delray Beach, Florida, and Miami-Dade South Community College. Off the fist towards second, Morandini on the first for the out. And now Terry Pendleton, who's gone 1 for 3 today with a single, 2 for 7 now since returning to Atlanta.
Watch this motion. Starts back, then dips down from the side. Never really lets his left arm extend. Almost short arms the ball. You could see why he would be miserable for left-handers to stand in against.
1 away for Pendleton. Strike in the outside corner, 0-1. It seemed so normal this morning checking out of the hotel to see Terry Pendleton walking through the lobby. Even though he'd been gone for a little over a year and a half. Pitch is low and outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball there, 1-2.
I'll tell you when it seemed most normal for me. We showed you a shot earlier of Bobby Cox telling Eddie Perez to go out and talk to Terrell Wade. Well, when Eddie Perez got out there, Terry Pendleton was already there. He was 1 step ahead of them. We have seen him do that so many times in his career here with the Braves.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Chased a breaking ball, strike 3. Jordan records his first strikeout, 2 in a row set down by the left-hander. And that'll bring up Eddie Perez.
Sometimes you give up on backdoor breaking balls and you get called out. That time Terry Pendleton gave that one too much credit. He thought it was going to come further over the plate than it did. Actually backed up a little and stayed off the plate, and he chased it.
Eddie Perez today 1 for 3, had a double and came around to score a run back in the second. Backdoor breaking ball did catch the corner for a strike, 0-1. 4 runs, 9 hits for the Braves, 2 runs, 8 hits for the Phillies. Each team has made 1 error. Over the mound, shortstop Stocker near the bag at second. And Jordan has a 1-2-3-8. Braves have been a little quiet offensively since the 4th inning, but go to the bottom half of the 8th, still leading it 4-2. Him moving into the number 3 spot on the batting order today. He had been hitting down in the 6 or 7 spot. drills this one into center field. Grissom, nice play. That ball was knuckling on him out there. You can see him reach very quickly for it at the end to make the catch. Good play by Marquise. One down.
And you expect a ball like that to hook when it's hit that hard. A right-hander out in front of it, but that ball, instead of hooking, goes right back toward him, and that was a knuckler. See him catch it and have to reach down low right at the end.
One pitch, one out here in the 8th inning, and Todd Zeile who has struck out single and hit into a 5-4-3 double play. That single is only hit in the series, 1 for 14. Braves have pitched him well. There's a call, strike on one. McMichael is now set down 5 in a row. Trying to get through this inning and turn things over to Mark Wohlers in the 9th.
If you're wondering what the Braves pitchers think of Chipper Jones playing shortstop, that's where he was signed, and everybody's convinced he can play well there.
And he's going to get his first chance at short. Deals it cleanly. The throw on to first in time.
What a great lead in to get spoiled.
Outstanding. Timing is everything in this business.
Yeah, let's see. He is such a good athlete. If you told him to catch, gets himself set square, a couple of steps. You've watched him at third, you know he has a cannon. And I swear, Pete, from our vantage point up here watching him, I have flashbacks to 1982 when I saw a young man named Cal Ripken stand out at shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles.
That position has really changed, hasn't it? You see a lot more powerfully built players playing short than you used to. That used to be a place for little skinny guys to play. Now you've got Ripken over there for so many years. Chipper Jones now moved over there. Alex Rodriguez, MVP candidate in the American League, built along those lines.
One you mentioned a little bit earlier, Royce
Clayton, another one, yeah. 0-1 the count in Santiago. 2 for 3 again today against the Braves. Now 13 hits and 36 at bats against the Braves this year. Here's the 0-1 to him. 0-2 the count.
If the old tradition that used to take place were still going on, you would see Benito Santiago in a Braves uniform within 6 months. Remember how clubs used to always trade for the guy that wore them out?
0-2 the count in Santiago. McMichael trying for another 1-2-3 inning. Good stop by Perez. 1 ball, 2 strikes. To Atlanta. We're in the bottom half of the 8th inning. And the 1-2 pitch off the end of the bat, a little nubber toward first. McGriff going to reach out and tag Santiago, and that'll do it. Another 1-2-3 for McMichael, who sets down 7 straight after giving up a run-scoring single to pinch hitter Greg Jeffries. So a good job of relief pitching by Greg McMichael. We go to the 9th inning, 4-2 Atlanta.
Tonight, live.
Against Ricardo Jordan. Lemke's had a good day today. 2 for 3, a single, a double. He has scored 1, driven in 1. Jordan's first pitch to Lemke misses, ball 1. Don't forget, tomorrow night John Smoltz goes for his 20th here on TBS and back in Atlanta against Denny Nagel and the Pittsburgh Pirates. 2-0 the count. Mike Mordecai has moved on deck. Here's the 3-0 offering. Lemke taking all the way. It's in for a strike, 3-1. Shallow right field in Cavilla there for the catch. Jordan's retired 4 in a row, and now Mike Mordecai will come on to pinch hit for McMichael.
Just like a gazelle, just glided over and picked it out of the air.
And as Mordecai is introduced, Jim Fregosi on his way out of the Phillies dugout. He wants a right-hander. All this will, in all likelihood, do is get Mordecai out of the game and bring up Dwight Smith. So Jordan will leave after working an inning in the third. Toby Borland making his way in from the Philadelphia bullpen as the Braves hold on to a 4-2 lead. Here in run average, league hitting .232 against him, and Mike Mordecai is going to stay in there and bat against the right-hander. So the automatic change that you normally see managers make when a lefty is replaced by a right-hander, usually the counter move is made by the opposing manager with a right-hand hitter lifted for the left-hander, but this time Mordecai is going to stay in there and hit. Hitting .211, no homers, 5 RBIs, 5 out of 23 as a pinch hitter. One out, base is empty here in the ninth inning. Braves up 4-2. Line left center field, base hit for Mordecai. Good move by Bobby Cox.
And for Mordecai, that's something he hasn't been doing with regularity this year. We saw him last year. If he came up off the bench and stepped in there and you tried to sneak a fastball by him, you had no chance. He's been missing that pitch a lot this year. Good hitting style. Hits against the front leg, head right down on the ball, got a fastball, didn't miss it.
So a single for Mordecai puts a runner at first, 1 down. That'll bring up Marquise Grissom. 2 out of 4, a home run, a double, a 20-game hitting streak. He has matched his career high now in homers, 19 of them. 0-1 the count on Grissom. 1 ball, 1 strike. Braves now with 10 hits in the game. And it's now 2-1 on Marquise.
Might see right-handers with a little bit better chance of hitting Borland's breaking stuff. That fastball sinks right in on their hands. Breaking stuff kind of flattens out when he throws his slider. It's almost like a frisbee coming up there. He is one of those pitchers, Pete, that could almost go with just the fastball, just change speeds on it. They would give him a couple of different pitches.
Grissom's had success against him, 3 for 7 in his career. And a favorable count here, 3-1. Runner going. Marquise lines one left field. That's going to drop in, base hit. Mordecai around second, heads for third. And the Braves have set the table for Andrew Jones. Runners first and third with 1 down. Third hit of the game for Marquise Grissom, who is just on fire offensively right now.
Good base running by Mordecai. Know your outfielders. There's that fastball. Knee high out over the plate. You know your outfielders. You know that they're playing deep. You also know Jeffrey's not that good of an arm, so he didn't even hesitate at second. A little stutter step and gone. Got the play in front of him the whole way.
First and third, 1 down for Andrew Jones, who in his major league debut has gone 0 for 4. 2 strikeouts. He fouled out to first. His last time up, he hit a drive deep to right center field, and Incaviglia ran down. There's Andrew Jones' first major league hit. Line drive, run scoring single into left field. So Jones getting a little better with each at bat. Comes up here in the ninth inning. Runners first and third. Jumps on Borland's first pitch for a run scoring single to left. And that makes it 5-2.
That will be the first of many to go in his trophy case if he can stay healthy. Same pitch as Grissom hit, the same pitch as Mordecai hit. Tailing fastball, came back over the heart of the strike zone. Good hitting style, good reward for it.
And a little insurance here in the ninth inning for Atlanta. Now Chipper Jones, he's 1 for 4. Run scoring single in the first inning. Takes a strike in the outside corner. Chipper now with a 10-game hitting streak. Count goes to 0-2. I am sure you will see in the next week or so a lot of experimenting with the batting order by Bobby Cox. He's got Andruw Jones hitting second today. Will he stay there? Will he move down deeper into the order? Terry Pendleton could move back to the number 2 spot. Mark Lemke could move back to the number 2 spot. And I'm sure you'll see some tinkering by Bobby Cox trying to come up with the most effective order. He was able to stay with that pretty set batting order for so long this year. But now with all the new faces, even he admits we've got a puzzle that we've taken apart, and now we've got to put it back together again.
When was the last time you heard a reigning world's champion manager and in a pennant race and leading his division make that kind of statement? That's how you contend this year and next year and the next year and the next year. It's a constant fine-tuning of any ball club, or you all get old at the same time.
An 0-2 pitch on the way. Chipper started to go, checked his swing. The pitch missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. If you think about the last time the Braves had some success back in the early 80s, they won a division in 82, then came in second in 83 and 84, and then fizzled again, falling to the bottom. They made no changes, basically, with that ball club. And as you said, Don, teams get old together and get a little more or a little less effective together.
Well, if you get old together, then you have to sacrifice about 3 years to get back there. Sometimes you have to sacrifice more because instead of having to replace 1 or 2 players, you're having to replace 10, 12.
Exactly. All of a sudden, you've got a half a roster you've got to change, and that's almost impossible to do. Two and two now on Chipper Jones. Runners at first and second. Another run in here in the 9th inning. Down the right field line, but foul. And it remains 2-2. And I guess the greatest example of all, Don, of a team that was left alone a couple of years too long. You think of the last Yankee dynasty, the Mantle Marish years, and Joe Pepitone and that group, Tony Kubek and all those players that Bobby Richardson stayed together maybe 1 or 2 years too long, and all of a sudden went from being a contender to being a cellar-dwelling ball club that had to completely rebuild.
The 80, 81, 82 Milwaukee Brewers. Dominant ball club for that period there. Then all of a sudden you had 5 or 6 guys in the starting lineup. 33, 34, 35, a step slower, the bat just a little bit slower, and the years had to be sacrificed there. Same thing happened to the Dodgers in the late 60s. Remember, they won in 65
right.
and 66.
Here's the 2-2 pitch to Chipper Jones, fouled off again, still 2-2. So if you think of what the Braves have done since '91, when they made that jump from the basement to first place and got into their first World Series, there's been a lot of changes made on the ball club since then. But the team has remained a dominant team in the National League. But who is left from that 91 team? Jeff Blauser, he's now disabled. David Justice, he's now disabled. Mark Lemke. Terry Pendleton just returned. Steve Avery, he's disabled. Fouled off again by Chipper. Tom Glavine. John Smoltz. Mark Wohlers, not many left off that 91 team.
But that's a pretty good nucleus to fine-tune with. You add a Greg Maddux. Here's the opening day lineup from 91. Deion Sanders in left. Jeff Treadway at second. Ronnie Gant center field. Justice in the cleanup spot. He's still a part of the club. Bream, Pendleton, Heath, Belliard, and John Smoltz.
Pretty good turnover for a team that has stayed at the top. Another 2-2 pitch on the way to Chipper Jones. Full count now, 3-2.
It's also it's one of those good news, bad news. It's a fine tribute to the scouting and the farm system to keep turning out good players for that nucleus that either A, you could use here, or B, you could trade for some other people. But that was the reward, if you want to use that term, for getting your brains kicked in for a number of years, getting that #1 pick.
See if the runners are going on this 3-2 pitch. They are moving, and the 3-2 is low and inside, and that's quite an at-bat for Chipper Jones. 12 pitches it took But he draws the walk. The bases are loaded. Fred McGriff will be coming up with a chance to add to the Braves lead, and Jim Fregosi not very happy with this performance by Toby Borland. That's a very determined walk that he is making to the mound. And a walk that he has had to make far too many times for the Phillies this year. Away from him. They've fallen behind now 5-2. Bases loaded, only one man out. And the veteran Jeff Parrott takes over for Toby Borland. Parrott just returning to the Phillies after being released by the St. Louis Cardinals. He is making his 37th appearance overall, his 4th for the Phillies. His first 3 games for the Phillies have been good ones. He's worked 4 2/3 innings, allowed no runs, 3 hits, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. Heard an interesting story about Jeff. When he was let go by the Cardinals, he wasn't picked up right away. He had about 10 days when he just went back home and was waiting for the phone to ring. And he wanted to stay in shape during that 10-day stretch. Guess who he played catch with to keep his arms strong? His dad. Keep himself sharp so that when the phone did ring and it was the Phillies who were calling, he was ready to step right back in there. McGriff is 0 for 4. And just 1 for his last 16. Bases loaded, 1 out. Braves up 5-2. There's a strike in the inside corner, 0-1. Good career numbers in this situation for Fred McGriff. Grissom, Jones, and Jones. One ball, one strike. The middle, base hit center field. That'll get Marquise Grissom home. Andrew Jones around third. He will score. And with 2 more runners across home, the Braves have broken this one wide open. It's now 7-2. RBIs number 85 and 86 for Fred McGriff, who adds to that very impressive number with the bases full.
But he's not really that happy. You could see him over at first base with Pat Corrales. Wasn't really that happy with that at bat. A ground ball that could have been a double play, but just a couple of steps to the left, maybe even a half a step in the right spot. 2 RBIs and some breathing room. But watching him at first, I think he thinks he should have driven that to left center field.
So the Braves now lead at 7-2. 13 hits in the game for Atlanta. And here's Ryan Klesko still looking for his first hit. He's 0 for 3 with a walk. Breaking ball strike inside corner, 0-1.
We've seen some interesting idiosyncrasies from pitcher. Rob Nen, we've seen do the little hop step or drag his foot. Jeff Parrott has one. He hits his front knee with his glove in the ball as he comes into his delivery.
And there's another base hit, this time for Klesko into right field. Chipper Jones gets the green light around third. The throw comes back to the middle of the infield. And it's 8-2 Atlanta. Braves erupting here in the 9th inning. Klesko drives in his 76th run of the year. Braves have put 3, make it 4 on the board here in the 9th.
A short day at the office for Toby Borland that is going to kick his earned run average up. This base hit right here into right field means that he faced 4. He gave up 3 hits. He walked 1, and all 4 have scored.
And there's still only 1 out in the inning, and Terry Pendleton will step in. He's 1 for 4. A 4 spot here in the 8th inning. 8-2 Atlanta. 14 hits on the day. And here is Pendleton. No strikes. Count even on Terry. 1 ball, 1 strike. McGriff and Klesko are your runners. Here's the 1-1. Bounces one to second. Morandini flips to Stocker. On to Zeal. Double play to end the inning. But it turned out to be a good one for the Braves as they add 4 to their lead. And we go to the bottom half of the 9th inning in this final game of the road trip with the Braves leading it now 8-2. The Phillies get ready to hit. Rafael Belliard takes over for Chipper Jones at shortstop. We have a new pitcher. Left-hander Pedro Bourbon. Mark Wohlers was warming up, but when the Braves got all those runs in the 9th, gives him a chance to get an extra day off. And Pedro Bourbon with a chance to close this one out, making his 40th appearance. 2-0, good earned run average, 2.14. Good year. 33 2/3 innings, only 22 hits allowed, 5 walks, and 28 strikeouts. And give a blue star to Greg McMichael for his relief work. 2 1/3 innings, only 1 hit. 1 strikeout, no runs. That held the lead at 4-2. Now the Braves have opened up an 8-2 lead. Pete Incaviglia will lead off. He's walked a couple of times and fly to center. And takes ball 1 from Bourbon. At the knees, the count even, 1 ball, 1 strike. Caught the corner, 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Out of play, still 2-2. It's full now, 3-2 on Incaviglia.
Lead like this, you see what Eddie Perez's strategy is. We're going to take the inner half of the strike zone out of play. Try to work with the outer half. Give me some strikes. And if they want to hit it the other way, let them do it. There he is on the outside corner.
Straight away center, long run for Marquise Grissom. This one's going to be over his head and bounces over the wall. It'll be a double to start out the bottom half of the 9th inning for Pete Incaviglia.
And every now and then, even the outer half of the strike zone can become hazardous to your health. That one, not so much the location horizontally, but vertically that got him in trouble above the belt. And Incaviglia, you give him anything up out of the plate he can extend on, you're lucky when he keeps it in the park.
That's his 7th double of the year. It's the 9th hit of the day for the Phillies. And it brings up Greg Jefferies. Had a pinch hit run scoring single in the 6th inning. Stayed in the game in left field. One ball, no strikes. Bourbon just missing, 2-0.
And you're not going to get that call consistently until you get a little in the plate. And once you show you can hit that spot often enough, then just a little off the plate, you'll get the call.
3-0. Unusual to see Bourbon this wild. And he walks Jefferies on 4 straight.
Well, the reason you bring him in here with a 6-run lead is you'd kind of like to save Mark Wohlers, but it defeats your whole purpose now if you put a couple of runners on and you have to crank him up.
Terry Pendlin over for a quick word with Bourbon, who now has Kevin Stocker. Mike Lieberthal has moved on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher. Stocker today 0 for 3. A couple of strikeouts and a ground out to first. He has gone 3 for 4 in limited appearances in his career against Bourbon. That caught the corner. The count 0-1. One ball, one strike. And Bourbon ahead in the count now, 1-2. Incaviglia at second, Jeffries at first, nobody out. 1-2 pitch, foul back. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Toward left, Plesko on the run there for the catch, throwing back to second, but getting back there safely is Incaviglia. That ball was hit hard. Plesko there for the grab, 1 down, and now Mike Lieberthal will come on to pinch hit for Jeff Parrott. Lieberthal, a .242 hitter for the year with 7 home runs, 0 for 7 though as a pinch hitter. Field line, that's a fair ball. It's going to get at least 1 run in. Incaviglia around third. He will score. Being held at third is Greg Jeffries. Pinch hit run scoring double for Lieberthal. His 7th double and 23rd RBI of the year. It's now 8-3. Runners second and third with 1 out. And Bobby Cox is going to have to go to his closer as he is on his way to the mound. So Pedro Bourbon does not get the job done today. Working only a third of an inning. He's given up a couple of hits, a run. The runners at second and third belong to him. And it'll be Mark Wohlers coming on from the bullpen to try to close the deal here. With runners second and third, 1 down.
Boy, that 4-run top of the ninth, awfully big right now.
This is somewhat of a luxury for Mark Wohlers, the closer. Very rarely gets a chance to come in and work with a big lead like this.
Some closers don't like that. You know, some guys like to come in when it's on the line. I have often heard it said about Don Stanhouse, Raleigh Fingers, even Goose Gossage at times, is that they are problem solvers. And if they come into a ball game where there isn't a problem to solve, they'll create one so they can solve it.
Well, we'll see how Wohlers fares here with runners second and third, 1 down. Otero today is 2 out of 4. A single, a double. He has scored 1 run. One ball, no strikes.
Scoreboard operators here at the vet love it when Wohlers comes into the ball game, because they have that radar gun reading up there and you can just see them. They talk about it afterwards. They love lighting it up for Wohlers.
Right through there for a strike, 1-1. Not getting quite the velocity today. His first 2, 94 and 97. We've We've seen him hit the 100 spot, including in this series. Here's the 1-1. And that one stayed high, 2-1 on Otero. On the way, a little tap left side. Rafael Belliard from deep short has no play anywhere. A run scores as Jeffries trots home. Infield hit for Otero, holding at second. Lieberthal. Give Otero an RBI, his 26th of the year, and it's now 8-4.
Just slap it on the ground. A guy with his speed. See, that's what you try to teach a lot of young guys who are not really that big, and you want them in the leadoff role. Don't try to lift the ball. Don't try to pull it. Take what they give you, and anything not hit right at an infielder when you have his speed has a shot at being a base hit.
It's a 4-run lead now. Runners first and second for Mickey Morandini, who's 0 for 4 today and just 1 for 15 now in the series. And he takes a strike in the inside corner. Morandini's had success against Wohlers, 3 for 7 lifetime. Here's the 0-1. Into right field, base hit for Morandini. Lieberthal's going to be held at third. And the Phillies have loaded the bases, still only one man out. Back-to-back hits off Wohlers by Otero and Morandini. Bases loaded now with one out, and the heart of the order coming up, beginning with Scott Rowland, who has 2 singles and a walk in 4 trips today.
Well, it's like getting stung to death by gnats, but you know that if it continues, then you've got to face Zeal, Santiago, and Incaviglia. And either one of the 3 there capable of getting this game awfully close with one swing.
Still only one out in the inning. This will be Rowland's first at bat against Mark Wohlers in his career. And he takes strike 1 outside corner, 0-1. Eight-4, Braves leading it. Morandini at first, Otero at second, Lieberthal at third. And an even count of 1 ball, 1 strike, and Scott Rowland. Here's the 1-1. Missed high with a fastball, 2-1. Here's the 2-1 delivery, and it's punch foul out of play right side. That evens the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. A lot of the crowd of 28,011 have already headed for home. But those who remained are seeing a 9th inning rally by their Phillies.
Well, it's been a long year for the Phillies, and when the Braves put 4 on the board in the top of the 9th, most of the people who had watched this kind of ball game all year decided to head for the exits.
Now a 2-2 pitch due to Scott Rowland. Here it comes. Struck him out. And there's a big second out here in the inning. And now it's all up to Todd Zeal, who is 1 for 4 on the day. and 1 for 15 now in the series.
Kept him on a fastball diet till we got to count to 2-2, and then threw the only breaking ball he's thrown in the sequence, and he could not have put it in a better spot. Take a look at this. Outside corner going down and away. You've got to tune it up. You've got to start it early to get ready for that 98-mile-an-hour fastball. If there's any movement on it, almost impossible to stop your swing on a pitch like that.
Bases loaded, 2 outs for Zeal. Here's the first pitch from Walters. A little chopper backed over the mound and see if anybody can get to it. Well, Terry Pendleton does, but has no play. Another run is in. Lieberthal scoring. Moving to third, Ricky Otero. Down to second, Mickey Morandini. It's now 8-5. Zeal didn't hit it well, but off his artificial turf, took that high bounce, and nobody had a play.
We have seen 5 or 6 hits like that here in Philadelphia off the front of the plate. Wise move by Terry Pendleton, not forcing the issue. Did you see the first thing that he did was glance to third to see if Otero was going to come on around, and he didn't.
Zeal picks up the RBI. His 75th of the year. 8-5 our score now, and here's Benito Santiago, the 9th man to bat in the inning. He is 2 out of 4, and he's hit the Braves well all year. 0-1.
Normally you want to throw a strike, but that's a good pitch right there to start a free swinger with. As aggressive as he has been and as good as he's been against the Braves, he's got to be looking for something to hammer on the first pitch. Walter started him with the breaking ball. First hitter since he's been in there that he started with a breaking ball.
That misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Close the book down. Pedro Borbon, all 3 runs in this inning, charged to Borbon. The 3 runners out there now belong to Wohlers. Wohlers ready now for the 1-1 pitch to Santiago. It's on the way, and it missed low. 2-1. Otero, Morandini, and Zeal all with singles in the inning. Here's the 2-1 pitch. 2-2. High fastball blew it right by him. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You'd like to get him out 2-2. 3-2. Everybody gets on the move. High fastball. You can pitch him up there if you have some giddy up. And Wohlers at 99 miles an hour, I would guess you could say he has some.
Bases loaded. 2 outs. 8-5 Atlanta in the bottom of the 9th. And here comes the 2-2 pitch. Struck him out, and the Atlanta Braves hang on to win it, making it 3 out of 4 over the Phillies as the Braves beat Philadelphia in the final game of the series. Your final score, Atlanta 8, Philadelphia 5.
Our AutoZone player of the game had himself a good day defensively, had himself a good day offensively. You see his numbers, 3 for 5. He scored 3, drove home 1. That won a solo home run. He now has a 20-game hitting streak. Marquise Grissom, our AutoZone player of the game. We'll come back to the bet and total it up after we break away for a moment. Stranded for the Phillies 5, 13-1 with 9 stranded, including the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning. Terrell Wade, 5+ innings, 6 strikeouts. He gets the win. He is a perfect 4-0. Braves also use Clontz, McMichael, Borbon, and Wohlers with McMichael and Clontz pitching fairly well, but Wohlers closing it out. Andrew Jones opens it up 1 for 5, but the man of the hour for the Braves, Marquise Grissom, his 19th homer he now has A 20-game hitting streak. Braves have won 7 of their last 9 road games, Pete.
And have opened up a 7.5-game lead now over Montreal, who is idle today. Our next telecast tomorrow night as the Braves return home to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. John Smoltz going for his 20th win of the season, trying to become the first 20-game winner in the major leagues. Denny Nagel will be on the mound for the Pirates. Don't forget, coming up later tonight, 8:05, stay tuned for WCW Clash of the Champions tonight on TBS. Until tomorrow night, for Don Sutton, Skip Carey, Joe Simpson, our entire TBS crew, Pete Van Weren from the vet in Philadelphia, with the final today. The Braves 8, the Phillies 5. The Braves take 3 out of 4 on the trip to Philadelphia. Until tomorrow night, so long, everyone.